How to Talk in English. Lily stared at the textbook, a deep sigh escaping her lips. English felt like an insurmountable mountain, its grammar rules a tangled web, its vocabulary an endless desert. Every attempted conversation seemed to end in awkward silence or miscommunication, leaving her feeling utterly defeated and foolish. She desperately wanted to express herself, to connect with the world beyond her native tongue, but the path forward remained incredibly unclear. It was a daily battle. Days bled into weeks, and her enthusiasm waned considerably. The traditional classroom methods, rote memorization and repetitive drills, simply weren't sparking any joy or genuine understanding. Lily often wondered if she was truly built for language learning, questioning her own ability and dedication. This constant struggle chipped away at her confidence, making the idea of fluency seem like an impossible dream, miles away. There were moments of profound doubt, whispers in her mind suggesting a radical idea. Why you should not learn English. Perhaps it wasn't worth the immense effort, the frustrating setbacks, the endless hours spent poring over dictionaries. Maybe her life was perfectly fine without mastering another language, she mused, trying to justify her growing reluctance. These thoughts, though fleeting, were powerful and persuasive. The pressure mounted from various sources. Colleagues spoke fluent English at work, foreign films offered intriguing narratives, and global news felt more accessible to others. Lily observed these interactions with a mixture of admiration and longing. She yearned to participate, to understand the nuances, to articulate her own thoughts without relying on clunky translation apps. Her desire remained, even amidst her self-doubt. One evening, scrolling through an online forum, a peculiar phrase caught her eye. Learn English through stories. It sounded almost too simple, too pleasant to be an effective learning strategy. Her previous experiences had taught her that language acquisition was a rigorous, often painful process. Yet, something about the idea of narratives rather than dry textbooks piqued her curiosity enough to click. The article detailed how engaging with compelling narratives could naturally embed vocabulary and grammar, without the conscious effort of memorization. It suggested that emotional connection to characters and plotlines aided retention significantly. This approach felt revolutionary compared to the dull exercises she was accustomed to, promising a more organic and enjoyable journey. Lily felt a flicker of hope. Driven by this newfound curiosity, Lily sought out simplified English storybooks and audio dramas online. She started with children's tales, then progressed to short fiction. Immersing herself in these narratives, she found herself laughing, gasping, and even tearing up, something she never experienced with grammar drills. Learning felt less like a chore and more like an adventure. The stories provided natural context for new words, a revelation for Lily. Instead of isolated vocabulary lists, words appeared within sentences, tied to actions and emotions, making their meaning much clearer and more memorable. How to remember words suddenly wasn't a daunting task but an organic process, supported by the vivid imagery from the tales unfolding before her. She began a ritual, reading a story before bed, then rereading parts the next morning. This spaced repetition, combined with the emotional anchor of the narrative, solidified her understanding. Words that once seemed foreign quickly became familiar, slipping effortlessly into her passive vocabulary, ready for future activation. It was a remarkable shift in her learning paradigm. The stories also offered a window into cultural nuances, idioms, and natural conversational patterns. Why you must read English became evident as she encountered expressions not found in textbooks, understanding them in their authentic context. Reading wasn't just about words. It was about absorbing the very fabric of the language and the culture it represented. Soon, Lily noticed a subtle but significant change. Phrases from the stories would pop into her mind during the day. She wasn't consciously trying to recall them, but they just appeared, ready for use. Her comprehension improved dramatically. She could follow complex plot lines with greater ease, a true testament to the power of continuous exposure. Armed with an expanding vocabulary and a better grasp of sentence structure from her stories, Lily faced her next challenge, speaking. The thought of engaging in real-time conversations still filled her with dread. The fear of making mistakes, of sounding awkward, loomed large, often stifling any attempt to articulate her thoughts verbally. Then she recalled another piece of advice from her research: how to talk at home to yourself. It seemed odd initially, speaking to an empty room, but the logic was compelling. This practice offered a safe, judgment-free space to experiment with new words and phrases, to build muscle memory in her mouth and tongue. She started small, narrating her daily activities aloud. I am making coffee now. The water is boiling. I will add 2 spoons of sugar. It felt silly at first, but she persevered, turning mundane tasks into impromptu speaking opportunities. This simple act reduced her anxiety about speaking, little by little, day by day. Lily would describe objects around her apartment, narrate what she saw outside her window, or even give imaginary speeches on random topics. She also practiced shadowing, repeating sentences immediately after hearing them from audiobooks or podcasts. This mimicked native pronunciation and intonation patterns, making her speech sound more natural. This continuous self-talk transformed her internal monologue into an active English practice ground. She wasn't just thinking in English. She was speaking in English, albeit to herself. This consistent verbalization helped her bridge the gap between understanding words and actually producing them confidently, strengthening her linguistic muscles significantly. A pivotal moment arrived when she realized she could form complex sentences spontaneously in her mind, then articulate them without hesitation in her silent practice. The fear of searching for words mid-sentence began to dissipate. How to talk in English was no longer a distant aspiration but a tangible, achievable skill she was actively developing. The self-conversation also helped her identify her weak points in pronunciation and grammar. When she stumbled over a word or couldn't form a sentence correctly, she would pause, look it up, and then repeat it until it felt right. This immediate self-correction was incredibly effective for refining her spoken language. After weeks of consistent self-talk, Lily felt a new level of readiness. Her confidence had grown immensely. She still felt nervous about speaking with others, but the sheer volume of practice had armed her with a foundational fluency she hadn't possessed before, making her feel much more prepared. Her journey was also about observing how people speak English. She paid close attention to natural conversations in movies, TV shows, and even public spaces. It wasn't just about what words they used, but how they used them, the rhythm, the pauses, the emotional inflections. She noticed that real conversations were often messy, full of hesitations, repetitions, and informal contractions, unlike the pristine dialogues in her textbooks. This realization was liberating. It showed her that perfection wasn't necessary for communication. allowing her to embrace her own imperfections. Lily started analyzing different accents and regional variations, expanding her listening comprehension beyond standard pronunciations. This exposure to diverse voices prepared her for the variety of English she would encounter in the real world, making her a more adaptable and effective listener. She consciously mimicked phrases she liked, trying them out in her self-talk. This imitation wasn't about losing her own voice but about internalizing common expressions and natural flow, making her future conversations sound more authentic and less forced. It was a conscious effort. This observational learning complemented her story-based reading and self-speaking practice perfectly. She was absorbing language from every possible angle, reading it, speaking it, and listening to it in its natural habitat, creating a holistic learning experience that solidified her skills. One day, her colleague Mark, a native English speaker, approached her during lunch. "Lily," he began, "I heard you've been working hard on your English. How's it going?" Her heart pounded, but she took a deep breath, recalling all her solitary practice sessions. This was her moment to try. "It's going well, Mark, thank you," she replied, surprised at how naturally the words flowed. "I've been learning English through stories, and also talking to myself at home. It sounds strange, but it really helps." She even managed a small, confident smile. Mark nodded, intrigued. "Talking to yourself? That's actually a brilliant way to build fluency without pressure. Many successful polyglots recommend it," he said, validating her unconventional method. His encouragement fueled her confidence even further, making her feel less alone in her learning. They discussed books, movies, and current events. Lily found herself actively participating, expressing opinions and asking questions. There were still moments of hesitation, a search for the right word, but the overall flow was undeniably smoother than ever before. Her past struggles felt distant. This conversation was a turning point. It proved that her way of learning English, combining stories, self-talk, and observation, was incredibly effective. The theoretical knowledge had finally translated into practical, real-world communication, validating all her hard work and dedication. From that day on, Lily sought out more opportunities to converse in English. She joined an online language exchange group, attended local English meetups, and even volunteered for tasks at work that required English communication. Each interaction built upon the last, strengthening her resolve. She realized that every conversation, every stumble, every correction was a crucial part of the learning process. The fear of making mistakes had significantly diminished, replaced by a genuine curiosity and a desire to communicate effectively, to truly understand and be understood by others. Lily also discovered the joy of reading more complex English texts, novels, nonfiction, and even academic papers related to her field. Why you must read English became even clearer as she unlocked new layers of understanding and expanded her knowledge base beyond simple stories. The depth of vocabulary she gained from diverse reading material was astonishing. She wasn't just learning words. She was internalizing different writing styles, rhetorical devices, and cultural references, which enriched her own expression tremendously, making her more articulate. Her methods for how to remember words evolved. Beyond stories, she used flashcards for specific technical terms, but always tried to connect them to a broader context or a personal experience. Visual aids and mnemonic devices also became valuable tools in her expanding arsenal. Lily understood that true word retention wasn't just about repetition, but about actively using the words in different contexts, writing them in sentences, speaking them aloud, and associating them with vivid imagery. This active engagement cemented them in her long-term memory. Sometimes she would encounter someone who seemed hesitant to learn English, much like her past self. She would share her journey, emphasizing that the initial feeling of why you should not learn English is a normal phase, but it should never deter one from starting. She stressed the importance of finding joy in the process, urging them to learn English through stories rather than viewing it as a chore. Her own transformation was a powerful testament to the effectiveness of enjoyable, immersive learning experiences. How to learn English, she would explain, is not a single path but a tapestry woven from various threads. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, but rather a combination of methods tailored to individual preferences and learning styles, constantly adapting as one progresses. She became an advocate for active listening and observation. How people speak English in real life offers invaluable lessons that textbooks cannot replicate, she explained. Pay attention to intonation, body language, and the natural flow of conversation, she advised. And of course, she never stopped advocating for how to talk at home to yourself. This simple zero-pressure practice remained a cornerstone of her fluency, allowing her to rehearse thoughts and overcome verbal stumbling blocks before facing a live audience. Her journey demonstrated that consistent effort, even small daily steps, accumulates into significant progress. It wasn't about grand gestures but about the daily commitment to engaging with the language in meaningful and enjoyable ways. Little by little, Lily reflected on the initial thought of why you should not learn English. It was a moment of weakness, fueled by frustration. But overcoming that initial resistance and finding methods that resonated with her made all the difference in her success. She realized that English wasn't just a subject, it was a key that unlocked new worlds of information, diverse cultures, and meaningful connections with people from all corners of the globe. Her perspective had broadened immensely. Her ability to how to talk in English fluently opened professional opportunities she never imagined possible. She could now confidently participate in international meetings, deliver presentations, and collaborate with global teams, elevating her career path. Beyond work, her personal life flourished. She could travel with ease, fully immerse herself in foreign cultures, and enjoy original English-language media without subtitles, appreciating the nuances and humor directly. It was truly liberating. Lily's transformation from a hesitant learner to a confident speaker was a testament to the power of perseverance and adaptable learning strategies. She understood that everyone's way of learning English is unique, but core principles apply universally. She proved that the journey of language acquisition is not linear but a cyclical process of learning, practicing, making mistakes, and refining. Each step, no matter how small, contributed to her eventual mastery and self-assurance. The initial fear of how to talk in English had been replaced by genuine excitement. She now sought out opportunities to use the language, not out of obligation, but out of a pure desire to connect and express herself effectively. Her story became an inspiration to others struggling with English. She shared her experiences, emphasizing that anyone could achieve fluency by finding engaging methods and maintaining consistent practice, even with simple tools. She often reminded aspiring learners that how to remember words is best done in context, not isolation, and that why you must read English goes beyond vocabulary to understanding the very soul of the language. Lily's journey underscored the fact that learning English is not merely about grammar rules and vocabulary lists. It's about building confidence, overcoming internal barriers, and embracing a new way of thinking and communicating with the world. She had learned to embrace imperfections and view mistakes as learning opportunities rather than failures. This shift in mindset was crucial for her progress, allowing her to speak freely without the constant fear of judgment. The process taught her patience and resilience. There were still challenging days, but she now possessed the tools and the mental fortitude to push through them, knowing that consistent effort always yields positive results. Lily became a firm believer that how people speak English naturally is the ultimate goal, and this is achieved by active exposure and practice in real-world scenarios, however small, starting from the comfort of one's home. Her fluency wasn't just about words. It was about newfound freedom. The world had opened up in ways she never imagined, all because she dared to embark on the challenging, yet incredibly rewarding journey of mastering English. So for anyone wondering how to talk in English, Lily's advice was simple. Start with what you love. Let stories guide your learning. Practice speaking aloud to yourself. And never underestimate the power of keen observation. Embrace the journey, accept the stumbles, and celebrate every small victory. The way of learning English is unique for everyone, but the core principles of immersion, practice, and joy are universal keys to success and fluency. She was living proof that from the initial doubts of why you should not learn English, to the triumph of how to talk in English confidently, the path is achievable with dedication and the right, engaging strategies. Her story is a beacon of hope, illustrating that with the right approach, combining structured learning with organic immersion, anyone can break through the language barrier and unlock their full communicative potential.